NFL Week 4 bets and analysis. I'm going to give you a lot of winners today and teasers that are money for this weekend. 7-2 start to the NFL season and over $23,000 profit, as you guys can see right here. The teasers have been money, but other than the teasers, the plays have been money. The reads have been great. MLB hot as well. 9-2 over the last 11 in September has been dominated entering October, which is my favorite time of the year because it's MLB playoffs. To me, it's money season, guys. You guys smell it in the air, and today we got money to make, and we're going to cover NFL Week 4. Now, before I start off today's analysis, if you guys can do me a solid, please share the show with a couple buddies that like to analyze games, that like to talk about sports, that are bros, and want winners for this weekend. That's the only way I grow the show. I don't run ads, because I find that shit annoying, man. When I'm listening to a podcast or a long format YouTube video and it gets interrupted by a freaking ad. I'm not going to do that to you guys, so do me that solid. And along with that too, if you guys have not gotten the remainder of the year pass, I'm going to throw a little ad myself here. Shamefully, but here I am throwing it. Get the remainder of the year pass. Going to close this pass out, and it's only going to be month and week pass. $6.99 promo code WIN, WIN, gets you $200 off, and you get every single play for the remainder of the year. And along with that too, my community, which was open a year ago. It was a school community where I go more in depth on every single game, every single day. You get like a 10 to 15 minute video along with the written analysis sometimes. I'm opening that up again soon, so stay tuned to that. If you guys want some information on that, go ahead and message me. Now, let's start off with the NFL Week 4 analysis. Now, before I start off with lines and games, let's cover PFF. If you guys don't have PFF, I highly suggest you get it. It's $20 a month, and it's very useful. It gives you a lot of information. It grades teams, it grades players, and it gives you this beautiful breakout regarding NFL Week 4, how teams are looking. First thing I like to look at here is defensive strengths and offensive strengths. As you know, who's the worst defensive team in the entire league? The Dallas Cowboys are sitting dead last right here, but offensively, they're pretty strong. They're sitting at least top 15, top 10, give or take, right? Now, we look at this to see who's the strong team. Nothing is make or break based on this necessarily, but we see the Titans are dead last. We know that the Bengals have been struggling pretty bad. We know that the Colts are really good offensively, and I'm going to talk about why they're really good offensively. We know that the Green Bay Packers are really good defensively and also offensively, but defensively is where they thrive, so do the Vikings as well. Along with that, too, we look at rushing. Who's ahead? Dolphins and the Commanders. Dead last, Raiders, Patriots, Bengals, Titans. I typically don't like to take teams that are bad at rushing, but ultimately, if there's a different game plan or something pops up, we might look into it, and we'll cover that in just 1 second. NFL team tier passing, Colts still ahead. Offensively, the Colts have been dominant. They've been dominant. Titans have been dead last. Vikings with this injury, they're starting to struggle a little bit. Dolphins, Cowboys sitting pretty much dead in the middle. Now, one stat here, and why we like to look at these stats that's going to stand out to you is the next one, not this one. How often do NFL offenses convert to the new series of downs? The Lions sitting number 1, the Colts sitting second. That last, Titans, Houston, Vikings, Bengals, Browns. Now, Bengals, Vikings, we can agree, injuries happen. Titans have been pretty much dead last the entire season. And then you got the Houston Texans, which, personally speaking, I don't blame Stroud by any means into that situation as to what's going on there. Who to blame is the offensive line. He has no protection, and no QB is going to thrive without proper protection. Plain and simple. Plain and simple. So Titans are sitting dead last. Texans right after that. At the top, you got Lions, you got Colts, you got Bills, you got Chargers, you got Eagles, and you got the Cowboys. Cowboys offensively have been great. Defensively is where they're struggling. Now, here is what stood out to me out of all these stats that I'm showing you right now. This one specifically. How often do NFL defenses allow conversions to new series of down? Green Bay sitting number 1 at 63%. Vikings sitting number 2 at 64%. Now, dead last, I expected the Cowboys. I expected the Dolphins, not the Colts. The Colts are allowing their opponents to convert at a very high rate. And it's a game that we're going to start off covering right after we cover these different stats. Now, these are the stats that I like to look at for PFF. I'd also like to look at the offensive line rating that they pull out every single week. That's why I pay for this website. Give me 1 second. Pay for this website because it gives you all this data. And as you guys can see right here, Houston Texans, they're sitting dead last when it comes to their offensive line. From there, you got the Cincinnati Bengals, you got the Cleveland Browns, you got the Las Vegas Raiders, and you got the Giants. Now, let's jump ahead. Typically, just like in MLB, I don't like to take teams that are they're bottom 5 in OPS over the last 7 days, bottom 5 in OBP. I don't like to take teams with bad offensive lines. If you don't have a good offensive line, you can't rush and you really can't pass the ball well. And if you can't do either of those, then the defense, even if they're bad, can pretty easily predict what you're going to do and stop you. Now, offensively, right now, who's leading the way? We know that the Eagles have the best offensive line, and that's why they thrive every single week, even when they don't play well offensively. Denver Broncos sitting second, Buffalo Bills sitting third, Indianapolis Colts sitting fourth. A big reason why they're winning. Danny Jones looking like a different QB with this team. He's looking like Tom Brady right now, but he has proper protection. And Neighbors, the wide receiver for the Giants. If I mispronounce his last name, cook me in the comments for that. But he mentioned it last year that it wasn't a QB problem. It was a coaching problem. And we're seeing that right now. The Giants have a coaching and a management problem. Now let's continue on. You got Chargers sitting fifth, sixth, the Rams, seventh, the Ravens, Vikings sitting eighth, ninth, the 49ers, 10th, the Lions, 11th, the Commanders. Now, let's transition. Let's transition to the money. Talk about the game and the team that we were just covering, Colts. Who are they facing this weekend? One of the main games of Week 4, the Indianapolis Colts going to the Los Angeles Rams. This line opened up in favor of who? The Rams at -5.5. Now, due to the success that the Colts are having, the line has pushed down. And obviously, money is coming in on the Colts, and we'll cover that in just 1 second. Now, the line in majority of the sportsbooks, as of right now, Wednesday, September 24th, is 3.5. Now, this video is going to come out today or tomorrow, depending on how fast it gets edited. But ultimately, we want to pay attention to this line movements. It's very critical and how the money comes out this weekend through BetMGM. Now, money and support. Right now, it's going to the Colts. 54% of the bets and 63% of the handle. On the money line, it's more attractive for the Rams. 68% of the bets and 56% of the handle going to the Rams. Now, the Colts are attracting a little bit more money. The line has pushed down. Now, reverse line movement. And if you do not know what reverse line movement is, I'll define it simply and fast for you guys. The sportsbook wants the money even on both sides, right? With that knowledge in mind, if the money's coming in heavily, for example, on the Buffalo Bills, we know that they're going to make the price of Buffalo heavier and make the price of the New Orleans Saints more attractive by making their odds juicier, like +900, +1,000. Right now it's hitting at +850. But if the money's coming in on the Bills and the line is pushing down with no key injuries, that's reverse line movement. And that means the book is getting sharp money, big, respected money from a respected player, or they're adjusting based on information they're finding out. And that, in a sense, is an edge. It doesn't mean it's a guaranteed lock, but ultimately it's something that I like to stay away from if I see it for the team that I like, or I like seeing it if I'm taking a team. Hopefully that helps. Now let's continue on with PFF and their data. Now, one big stat that stands out for this game is the following. And you got to factor this in football. If you do not know this, it's very important, specifically speaking with college football. Strength of schedule matters, team. It really does matter. The Colts right now are sitting 25th when it comes to strength of schedule. The Rams are sitting 12th right now. They have faced a much tougher schedule. Let's look at it. Who have the Colts faced? They faced the Denver Broncos, a big-time W when they were underdogs. They faced the Titans, which they dominated. And they faced the Dolphins, which have been pathetic, to say the least. And no, I'm not a Dolphins fan, but I am from Miami, and it's a shame to be part of this, organization here in Miami. I'm a big Heat fan, though. Now, who have the Rams faced? They faced the Eagles last game out, which they should have won that game. Terrible beat if you had the 3.5 for the Rams. Terrible beat. We had them teased at +8.5 or +9.5, I want to say. It ended up covering, but it was stressful to even see that. They beat the Titans, not a big W, and they beat the Texans 14-9 in game 1. Texans looked a little bit better that week. Now, ultimately, going to Philadelphia and playing Philadelphia, the Super Bowl champ, is the toughest task to do in NFL. So they have a tougher schedule. Now let's continue looking at the data. Overall, power ranking, the Rams are ahead 10th to 13th compared to the Colts. Defensively, they're ahead. Offensively is where they're not. And this is where offensive line matters. And ultimately, they have great coaching. And they have great play calling. The tight end that they just drafted has made a huge impact, both receiving and blocking. Jonathan Taylor is looking like his own self again. And Danny Jones is looking steady, to say the least. So offensively, they are ahead, sitting 3rd compared to 9th. Strength of schedule, we just covered. Now, what other stats do I like to look at? EPA per run and EPA per pass. Now, why do I like to look at EPA? I'll give you a basic example that a third grader can understand. We can both agree that in 3rd and 15, if an offense picks up 5 yards, it's not as significant, right? Because now it's 4th and 10, and most likely they're going to have to punt or kick a field goal. Now, if it's 3rd and 4, and they pick up 5 yards, we can both agree that those yards are more important and should be graded more important. And that's what EPA does per run and per pass. As you can see, per pass, the Colts lead by a big amount. And that's because of that offensive line. Run-wise, they're pretty even. The Rams do lead in that category as of right now. As of right now, Colts have some key injuries to pay attention to that we got to factor in closer to game time, because as of right now, Wednesday, a lot of these players could be limited in practice. They can do a full practice Thursday and then be available for this weekend ultimately. So something to pay attention to. Now, where do I transition after I look at all this data? I like to look at team rankings, guys. And when you go to team rankings, you go to NFL, and then you click matchup schedule, and you'll find any game that you're looking at, right? And I like to look at certain stats that I want to find in favor of the team that I'm looking at. But I also want to factor in strength of schedule, right? Because if a strength of schedule sitting number 1 and the other's 30th, clearly the team with the 30th strength of schedule should have better stats because they're facing easier opposition, right? And I hope that makes sense. But what are the stats that I like to look at? I like to look at third down conversion, offensively and defensively. So let's talk offensively right now. Season is what we're going to look at. Third down conversion, the Rams are thriving a little bit more compared to the Colts, right? Third down conversion, as you guys can see right here. Red zone scoring, also another stat that I like to look at. And they have a little bit of a bigger edge here. 46% to 43%. Mine seems small in the grand scheme of things, but it's not. That's big percentages in this league. And those are two areas offensively where the Rams lead. Now, defensively, third down conversion, same deal. Rams lead. Opposition red zone scoring, another area where the Rams lead, allowing 57.14% of drives to be turned into touchdowns, whereas the Colts are sitting at 100, facing a very strong Rams offensive team. I also like to look at turnover margins. Who is gaining that edge? And right now, that's an area where the Colts lead. But ultimately, the Rams are leading a majority of the categories. And right now, there's no big-time injury in this game. And that's why the line is sitting at -3.5. The public, in my opinion, come Sunday, they're going to smash this Colts team. They're going to smash this Colts team. It looks like a great underdog to take. They look like a great teaser to add as well. Sitting at 10.5 or 11.5 if you take the Colts, that seems pretty. But guess what? Las Vegas knows that. And we're going to continue on with the head-to-head. Not as significant because the Colts team right now is looking a lot better than they did over the last 3 to 4 years. But the Rams have dominated this matchup, both in Indiana and LA over the last 4 matchups. And ultimately, team, right now, let's pull up the Hard Rock and see where this line is sitting at. It's sitting at 3.5 like we've been talking about, right? Rams sitting at -190. This is a heavy juice to bite. But I like the Rams' money line in this spot. And money line because of the way the Colts have been playing. I know it's a heavy juice to bite, but sometimes it's worth it. If you know it's a play that's going to win, sometimes you bite it. And I'm not saying you throw more money than you should on it. Play your same units, and we'll continue hitting singles and doubles until we find a home run like we did last Sunday. And that's the name of the game. Sometimes it's about finding singles, finding doubles, picking up a W, and then you set up yourself for a good play the next day or the following day. So ultimately, right now, this play, I love the Rams and how they're sitting right now. Every stat lines up in favors of them. Money right now going more in the Colts, so no reverse line movement in the situations. They're home. They have the experience. And this is going to be potentially, let's look at this schedule right here again. They faced the Denver Broncos at home, the Dolphins, and the Titans. This is going to be their first official big test because they're on the road. They're not home right now. At home, it's a different test for majority of professional teams and college teams. But playing away in LA, a team that should be 3-0 and lost a very close game that they're going to remember coming into this game, I promise you it's going to be a tough environment, and give me the LA Rams in this matchup. Transition to the game of Week 4. The game of Week 4, we got the Ravens versus Kansas City in Kansas City. This line opened up in favor of the Ravens at -2.5. As you guys can see right here, right now the line currently sitting between the -2.5 range and the -3 depending on the book. Hard Rock right now, we'll check it out. I believe it's at the 2.5 range. Now, where is the money going? Where is the money going right now? It's close to lopsided action in favor of the Ravens. 74% of the bets going to them, 87% of the handle on the money line, 72% of the bets, and 54% of the handle. The public is pretty convinced that the Ravens are going to bounce back and dominate this matchup. Now, this is a game that's being played in Kansas City. Now, let's dive into it and look into it a little bit more. First and foremost, what do we want to see? Strength of schedule. Who leads in that category? Right now, Ravens sitting 5th, Kansas City sitting 10th. It is in favor of the Ravens. Now, not by a big gap, but they are in favor. Overall, the Ravens are ranked a little bit better. Defensively, they've been a liability. Let's call it what it is. The Bills tore them apart. And just overall, they're not looking like the best defensive team that they've been over the last few years. Kansas City at home, one of the best defensive coordinators in the entire league. They're sitting pretty. Now, offensively, the way the Ravens can run the ball and have options to run, RPO, or pass the ball, it favors them in this situation. Now, EPA per run, both sitting pretty similarly. Minus 0.14 compared to minus 0.13. EPA per pass, not the same deal. The Ravens do lead in that category, 0.27 to 0.12. Now, the big storyline and the big question mark for this weekend is Mr. Worthy. Is he going to play or not? And I personally am a believer that he's going to play this weekend. And he was going to play this past weekend, I know, because I waited pretty much to the last second to see if he was going to play or not in my fantasy league, and he ended up sitting out. But it was because it was an easy matchup. Now, this weekend's matchup is a tough one, and he's already back in practice. Reed said we'll just evaluate him and take it day by day, and we will see. But if Worthy's back in this lineup, it's going to give them the firepower they need to take on this Ravens defense that's been pretty shitty as of late. The Ravens last game out, primetime game, Monday. They're also on a short week, something to factor in. Monday, they got upsetted by the Lions. A great offensive scheme that they played that day by the Lions. Kansas City, you can expect the same deal coming into this game. Van Noy, questionable this weekend, a big piece for this defense. Right now, Chiefs still have Worthy in the injury report. Let's see how that plays out. Now, let's look at the data for this game. What stats are we looking for? Third down conversion and red zone efficiency. We're going to start off with the offensive side, an area that we already saw through PFF. That's Baltimore leads. 44.12 conversions for third down compared to 41.46. A pretty big gap in red zone efficiency, same deal. 54.55 compared to 50%. Defensively, Kansas City does lead in the situation. Opponent third down conversion, a big time gap. 35 to 44%. Opposition red zone scoring 78 to 55%. So this is an offense versus defense game. Turnover-wise as well, Kansas City leads in these categories. Now, ultimately, who do the Chiefs have right now? They are counting on Worthy, and I'm counting on Worthy in order to take this game for the most part. Unless this line jumps up over that 3.5 range, then I'd consider taking them without Worthy. With Worthy, right now, Kelsey's been shit this entire season, so let's not talk a lot about that. But they have a good running game, they have a good offensive scheme, and they got Worthy lined up right there with Brown. Brown hasn't been the best player this entire season, but he's getting accustomed to this team. And right now, as of late, Humphrey has been looking like a liability, and you see the grade right now in that defense. He has one of the worst grades in that entire defense. And you're going to know for a fact that Andy Reid and Mahomes are going to attack him. Line up Worthy, line up Brown, line up Kelsey, block him a little bit, push him a little bit, and attack that side a little bit too. And along with that too, look at the defensive members for the Baltimore Ravens, an area that they can attack to, especially to the right side. Washington Jones, 50 compared to 30, an area where they can exploit, especially being at home. Now, head-to-head, it matters because Kansas City has been dominant. In the Mahomes era versus the Lamar Jackson era, it's been a domination. Baltimore did pick up a win in 2021. 36-35, I actually remember that game really well. Excellent game altogether. But other than that, over the last six, Ravens are not ahead. The Chiefs lead this 6-1. And in Kansas City, they won the last three. 27-24 in 18. 33-28 in 19. And then the last one that they played at home was 24. They won 27-20. Now, given this is not the same teams, neither side. Right now, the Ravens are looking to bounce back from an atrocious loss. Henry, a liability offensively because of his fumbles altogether. Something to pay attention to. Now, I went ahead and checked through BetMGM. They still do not have the splits for this game. So what I'm going to do, and I'm going to suggest to you guys to do as well, is to download the app Pikkit, Pikkit. Create an account, and this is where users go in and place their bets. But you'd think that it's not as big of money. But for NFL games, there's games that get up to the $2, $3, $4, $5, $6 million in cash. And this app tracks it through you placing it through the sportsbook, so it knows it's legit. Now, where am I going with this? The game that we just covered, Kansas City versus Ravens, I want to show you guys, or at least have an idea of where the money is. Baltimore right now, 81.12% of the bets, 86.90% of the money on the money line, 76.91% of the bets, and 82.05 on the spread. So right now, money is all over Baltimore in the situation. Everybody is discounting Kansas because of the way they started in this season. Now, versus the Giants, they played pretty well. I mean, Russell Wilson definitely gave him that game, but they're home. At home, they're a different team. Remember who Patty Mahomes is. If Worthy is back, watch out. This is a dog to pay attention to. I love Kansas City. I love him at +3 by the hook. I love him on the money line as well, and I love this team to tease him, but we got to wait to see if Worthy is playing. Before we transition to the next game, I'm going to cover 2 Sunday games here in this specific part of the video, and then we'll transition into Thursday Night Football, which I love the angle for that game, especially with a little teaser in line. Now, PFF gives you premium stats, which I love to look at. It gives you different stats, right, in an organized manner from 1 to 30th team in order, right? And it gives you different stats like offensive stats, passing block, run block, and little stats that you want to know a little bit about. Now, one stat that I like to look at, especially, is run defense, right? In an area where both Kansas City and the Baltimore Ravens have been atrocious this entire season, but so have the Buffalo Bills and so has the Dallas Cowboys, Miami Dolphins. Now, you see great teams there in the bottom because offensively they respond. Baltimore can score points. Buffalo can score points. Miami Dolphins can score points. Titans can't score points, and that's why they continue to get blown out. Las Vegas Raiders is also sitting there, and the Chicago Bears are also sitting there, which they're both facing each other this upcoming weekend. Now, these are the stats that I like to look at. Let's cover them just really quickly. Offensively right now, who's number 1? Detroit Lions, Colts, Rams, Buffalo Bills, right? Now, what area do I like to look at? You know how in the beginning of this video I covered offensive line? I like to look at pass block. Who has time and who doesn't? Obviously, it's going to line up with the stat that we just covered, right? Cardinals sitting 4th right now, 5th. Atlanta Falcons. Who's at the bottom? Rams being one of them. Dallas Cowboys being one of them. Dolphins, Browns, Packers, Texans being one of them as well. Run block is going to be very similar in a sense. Ultimately, you still see teams that were in the pass block in the bottom, but you see them in the pass. Actually, no. Arizona Cardinals, look at that. What a big gap to look at in this situation. Now, an area that I like to look at. Now, the next 2 games that I'm going to cover, and I'm going to cover briefly. The first one that I'm going to cover is the Las Vegas Raiders versus the Bears, right? This line opened up in favor of the Raiders at -1.5, but money and support is sitting at the Bears right now. 71% of the bets, 53% of the handle on the money line. The public loves the Bears after what just happened this past weekend. Now, this game is in Las Vegas and something that we need to factor in. Now, ultimately, I don't love this game, but based on my system right here in this situation, this is a telling line first and foremost, and you're playing with Vegas, not against them in this situation because the public loves the Bears in this situation. Now, again, this game starts in 4 days. In 4 days, team. That's 96 hours. There's going to be a lot of money pouring in this weekend, and we got to factor it in closer to game time. Now, nonetheless, let's look at this game a little bit, right? Overall, Bears are ranked a little bit better. Defensively, Raiders lead, not by much. Offensively, Bears lead by a good amount, 15 to 24th. Strength of schedule, rather even, but it does favor the Bears in this situation. EPA per run, both negative. It does favor the Bears. EPA per pass, 0.11. It does favor the Bears in this situation. Both these teams prefer to pass the ball compared to run. When you look at the percentages, really even 60s compared to 30s in regards to running in this situation. Now, Bears, Johnson, a player that we got to keep an eye on. This is a very key player in this defense, right? If he plays, it's going to give him a big edge. If he doesn't play, it's going to give the Raiders a big edge because they already pass the ball a lot. And if they're going to be without their main cornerback, Mr. Johnson, they're going to be in a situation where they're going to have to face Myers. They're going to have to face Bockers? Shit. How did I mess that up? Bowers. Excuse me on that little brain fart regarding that. But ultimately, the Raiders don't love him, but a game that's standing out just based on where the money's going and the money standing in favor of the Raiders. Now, right now, 3rd down conversion, red zone efficiency. Offensively, it does favor the Bears by a good amount, right? You see 85 compared to 42%. 3rd down conversion, 46 compared to 37%. Defensive efficiency, it does lead for the most part in favor of the Raiders in this situation. 3rd down conversion, it does lead the Bears. Now, red zone efficiency, an area where the Las Vegas Raiders have been thriving a little bit more. Turnover margin, it does lead the Bears. And now you guys see why I don't necessarily love this game. The line is telling money's on the Bears. Let's factor it in closer to game time. Now, The second game that I wanted to cover here before we transition into Thursday Night Football is Minnesota Vikings versus the Pittsburgh, right? This line opened up in favor of the Steelers at -1.5, and it's currently sitting at -2.5. Money and support right now, the public is on the Vikings, 59% of the bets, but sharper money is coming to the Steelers, as you guys can see right here. 41% of the bets, those are the tickets. 60% of the handle, that's the cash. It's going to the Steelers in the situation. And we're seeing a similar situation happen on the money line. 47% of the bets going to them, 67% of the handle going to them on the money line. Now, let's look at this game a little bit more in depth. Vikings, number 1 defense compared to 17th for the Steelers, even though the Steelers are known for their defense. Overall, Vikings lead in the situation. Offensively, though, and with the injuries that have lined up for the Vikings, this does favor the Steelers in the situation. EPA per run favors the Vikings, -0.02 compared to -0.10. And EPA per pass, it does lead the Steelers, and it's going to lead the Steelers even more this upcoming weekend because it's going to be Wentz. Now, Wentz is a veteran. He's not a bad quarterback by any means. He can throw the ball, but ultimately you can agree that they're most likely not going to rely on this run game. Now, this game is being played in the Steelers stadium, which favors them in that situation. Now, let's look at this game a little bit more in depth. Now, I was going to cover it just briefly, but as I look at it more, I like it a little bit more. Head-to-head, it does favor no one, 2-2. Last time they played, 2021, but Pittsburgh has won both their games at home. Statistically speaking, let's find this game and break it down a little bit, right? That's the point of these videos, to break down these games. When you come here, go to rating stats and stat splits, and that's where these stats are going to populate, right? So Minnesota leads the majority of the categories. Offensively, Pittsburgh leads in third down conversion and red zone efficiency. But you see majority of the stats still leading the Vikings. I like to find the 80-20 rule, the stats that matter, right? Third down conversion, if you convert at a higher rate, you're going to stay in the field longer. Red zone efficiency, if you can convert them to touchdowns when you're in the red zone, you have a better shot at winning than if you continue hitting field goals, right? And this is a situation where the Steelers lead. Defensively, though, this is a big gap. And for the most part, we know it because the Vikings have the number 1 defense in the entire league, and they lead in both these categories. Turnover margin, it is in favor of the Pittsburgh Steelers. I like the Pittsburgh Steelers here. Now, my question for this game is this line not telling, considering it's in the Steelers stadium and Vikings are coming out with Wentz? That's the part where I'm a little bit hesitant. I want to see how money comes in. But ultimately, another angle that I wanted to share with you guys. Not every game here that I've covered or will cover am I going to take. But if anything, it shows you guys where I'm looking and potentially help you guys save money, right? Bears, I potentially highly think that that's going to be a big trap for Vegas on Sunday. And this game is not, right? No money is lopsided by any means. Ravens is another game that's very trappy. If all the money is going to the Ravens team, if all the money is going to the Ravens, that's a liability for Vegas, especially that game. I guarantee you that's going to be the most bet game of the weekend. So pay attention to that. And with that said, let's transition to Thursday Night Football. Night Football, the next game, probably tonight, whenever this video is posted, is going to be the next game for NFL, right? We got Seahawks versus the Cardinals. A great game. And I love this game, and I'm definitely going to be all over this game. Now, this line opened up in favor of Seattle. Not Seattle, Arizona Cardinals, -1.5. And it's flipped in favor of the Seahawks. -1.5 right now. Money and support going more in favor of the Seahawks right here. 78% of the bets, 74% of the handle. On the money line, 77% of the bets and 83% of the handle. Now, one thing that I want you guys to factor in is that Thursday Night Football and Monday Night Football and Sunday Night Football are the most betted games in NFL. Now, given this weekend, Baltimore Ravens and Chiefs might get that number 1 ranking or even top 3. But Thursday Night Football is an area that you got to be careful in. Especially this season. Vegas lost big last season. They're not going to lose big this season. They're not going to lose big 2 seasons in a row, right? Now, this game, Seahawks, right? Let's cover it a little bit. Right now, strength of schedule, both pretty much in dead last, but it does favor the Seahawks. Offensively is where the Cardinals lead in that category. Defensively, Seahawks lead in that category. Overall ranking pretty much even. Now, EPA per pass is the big gap that I like to see here because EPA per run is pretty much dead even, right? EPA per pass, 0.17 for the Cardinals. Now, Harrison hasn't been the wide receiver that we expected him to be, but nonetheless, he is a threat. They still have McBride in that lineup. Now, let's continue on. Big difference in the play style for this team, and this is where the premium stats come into play. Now, offensively, we look at who runs the ball more, and it's the Seattle Seahawks. 51.1%, 37.4% compared to the Cardinals, right? EPA per pass, an area where the Cardinals thrive in, or at least have more play calling there, right? They throw the ball 62% of the time. Right now, Seahawks, there's a couple key questionable players. Williams being one of them, defensive end, big-time player for this team. Moffitt being that second player. We got to factor in all these injuries closer to game time, and that will be tomorrow. Right now, Cardinals dealing with their fair share of injuries as well that we got to pay attention to. A big reason why this line has shifted in favor of the Seahawks, right? The Cardinals are coming in a little bit more injured into this game. Now, with the knowledge that we have in mind, we can piece the puzzle together and at least get a general idea. We know that the Cardinals like to pass the ball a little bit more, right? So running defense, we're not going to look into, but pass rushing. Where's Seattle in this situation? They're sitting 12th right now, right? Pass block, we already saw the situation prior. Cardinals are sitting 4th. So they're sitting pretty because they're able to protect their quarterback. 50-50 in regards to the Seattle Seahawks for their play calling, but let's look at this as well, right? Defensively, pass rush, they throw the ball 50% of the time. Where are the Cardinals? And let me move my pretty face out of the way. We got the Cardinals sitting 19th in the situation. Run defense, another area the Seattle Seahawks play a lot. They're sitting 21st in this situation. Run block, Seattle Seahawks do it a little bit more, sitting 16th in this situation. And as I do these videos more and more, I'm going to break these stats down more and more. Now let's transition into the main stats, the stats that we want to look at to see who holds the edge in the situation. We already saw the strength of schedule, rather even. It does favor the Seattle Seahawks a little bit more, but not by much, right? Now, let's look at the data here. Third down conversions offensively, it does lead the Arizona Cardinals 37.84% of the time. Seattle Seahawks do lead in the red zone efficiency. Defensively, we see a similar situation. 41.67% for the Arizona Cardinals, allowing touchdowns in the red zone compared to 40 for the Seattle Seahawks, 30%. Opposition third down conversion for the Arizona Cardinals, 38.4%. 38.64% for the Seattle Seahawks. Turnover margin does give the edge to the Arizona Cardinals in this situation. Now, let's look at the head-to-head, see if anything stands out in the situation. Head-to-head, Seattle has been dominant, and that stands out. 8-2 over the last 8. We look at the last 6, 7. They have won and dominated this matchup. Now, we got to remember, Seattle has had a better team, right? Last year, Sam Darnold, they were looking really pretty. Prior to that, they've always maintained a pretty steady team. This year, it's a little bit different, and we can all agree to that pretty much, right? Now, who have they faced? Arizona has gone to one home game, or have been in one home game versus the Panthers that are looking a little bit more dangerous than most of us expected. One against the Saints. Saints are looking a little bit scrappier. In San Francisco, they did lose that game that they should have won ultimately. Right now, New Orleans, the Seattle Seahawks dominated them 44-13 at home. They beat Pittsburgh in Pittsburgh, a big-time win. San Francisco, they lost to them at home. I like the Cardinals in the spot. I love them at +1.5, +2, depending on the injuries. Now, injuries are a big-time part of this game. Now, this is a game that I do like teased as well. And we're going to set up a nice teaser for Sunday right now. I like the Arizona Cardinals as teaser number 1. The teaser number 1 that we're going to add to the line. Kansas City Chiefs is going to be the second line that I add to the teaser. Kansas City Chiefs, and we're going to do a 6-point teaser. So 2.5, jump up to 8.5, 1.5, jump up to 7.5. So we covered that touchdown just in case. Now, let's look at this a little bit better. I love the Rams. First game that we covered, probably my main play of the weekend. As of right now, 3.5. You're going to get it at, not 3.5. You're going to get it at 2.5. So you're going to get that line at 2.5. It might be worth looking at the 7-point teaser in this situation if we add a fourth team to make the odds good. And let me pull up my phone really quick just to look at this so I give you guys the right data and we lock in the same bets. That's the goal in this situation, right? So give me 2 seconds because I should have prepped this earlier, but I did not. So here I am, +1.5. for the Arizona Cardinals, Rams -3.5, Kansas City, and we're going to add a different game in this situation. Actually, let me look at how the 3-team teaser is sitting. 3-team teaser at +7, we're looking at +115, and that's okay. We don't need to add a fourth in this situation. I like that 3-game teaser. Cardinals +8.5, Rams +3.5, we're getting 7 points, and Chiefs +9.5. We're getting it at +7, +115. This, to me, is a great play. I'd bet it for $4,000 to $5,000. The Hard Rock has been limiting me to $4,000 for teasers. That's why I did a $4,000 teaser on Sunday. But I do love this teaser, and it's a teaser that I'm going to be playing. Teasers have been hot. And let me just show you really quick what teasers have done. Teasers are a great way to make money, team. Let me pull this up really quick for you guys because I wanted to show you guys so you guys can see it for yourselves. I opened up the NFL season with a 3-team teaser, 5,000 to win 12,000, profit 7,000, right? Followed it up with a 2-team teaser, which lost, so net profit $2,000. Now, I followed up week 3 with a big one, right? A $9,000 profit teaser. So right now, entering week 4 in this situation, these teasers have brought me $11,000 worth of profit. And today, we're not going to play a 4-team or a 5-team. We're going to play a 3-team because the lineup is a little bit more compact. But ultimately, I love this NFL teaser. Now, college football, I do like a few games. But that's going to be for my VIP. There's great games this entire weekend, guys. I've given you guys enough in the situation. Next week, I'm going to save more time to do these videos a little bit more in depth for college football. I love college football this weekend. Got Georgia, Alabama, a game that most people are going to get trapped. Oregon, Penn State. Money is going to be made this entire weekend, guys. So remember, join that team, guys. Join that team, obviously, if you can. If you guys, if this breaks the bank, do not do it, obviously. Remainder of the year pass, promo code WIN gets you guys $200 off. Then you got the month pass, week pass. Along with that, too, I've given you guys extra ammo. Why? And listen to this because this is the best part about this video. Below, I've attached my links. And if you guys sign up with those links, you guys are going to be able to double your deposits or get more credits based on your deposit. If you guys are a first-time user for that sportsbook, there's Novig, there's Profit X, and there's a few others, guys. So sign up if you guys haven't used those books because they'll give you more ammo for this weekend. Share the show. Let me know in the comments what you guys want me to cover a little bit more next time, what you guys are curious about, and we'll continue growing the show this way. Let's win the week, and I'll catch you guys next week.